Two extraction shooters, two different philosophies. One is a psychological pressure cooker where every footstep feels like a tax audit. And the other, well, it's a tactical sandbox where the map is so big you could lose your squad, your gear, and your will to live, all before you even make contact. Welcome back, noobs. Before we get into this, hit the like button, share, and comment. And don't forget to sub for more from me, the dead noob. Today we're deploying into the extraction shooter arena and the real differences between Escape from Tarkov and Gray Zone Warfare. Not the marketing fluff, not the hype, but the actual gameplay and the DNA that separates these two beasts. So let's roll it. The core loop. Ping versus patience. Tarkov is built on stress economics. Every raid is a gamble. Every sound is a threat. The game's entire identity revolves around risk compression. Short, intense raids where tension spikes fast and punishment hits harder than a 7.62 BP round. Yeah, fuck your armor. It has faster engagements, higher lethality, small to medium maps. Gear fear is a feature, not a bug. Timed maps to increase an already head and eyes aimbot boss encounter. Yeah, if you know, you know. Tarkov wants you sweating before you even load in. And if you haven't second-guessed your loadout, then you haven't played Tarkov. Gray Zone Warfare, well, it flips the script. It's not a raid, it's a deployment. The game is built around patience, planning, and long-term tactical movement. It's got a massive open world, long travel times. By foot could seem like an eternity, although they did shorten the helo rides to about 2 minutes at the longest point. Realistic squad tactics, real MGRS system, a 24-hour clock, and forecasted weather, all for that MET-TC effect. Combat that feels earned, not forced. Time is on your side here. No gating your mission. So Gray Zone isn't trying to scare you every 10 seconds. It's trying to make you think every 10 seconds. Did I make the right choice going this way? Or should I have gone the other way? Audio and situational awareness. In Tarkov, audio is a weapon. Footsteps, metal, wood, gravel. The game trains you like a Pavlovian dog. You hear a twig snap and your soul leaves your body. Tarkov's sound decision is about hyperlocal awareness. If you hear it, it's close. And if it's close, it can kill you. And probably will. Gray Zone Warfare? Audio is about distance and environment. Gunshots echo realistically across kilometers. You hear a firefight and think, do we investigate? Or do we pretend we didn't hear that and keep walking like responsible adults? The game rewards macro awareness, not just micro panic. Map design and player behavior. In Tarkov, maps are tight, curated, and intentionally hostile. They funnel players into conflict zones like dorms, labs, and strongholds. The game thrives on predictable chaos. You know where the bosses spawn, and more than likely they're there, with a few guards for backup. And this creates hotspots, an ambush culture, high traffic loot routes, and it's PvP by design. Even if you're playing PvE, not saying that you can kill other players in PvE, well you can, because if they're on your team, friendly fire is always on. In Gray Zone Warfare, the map is a living terrain, not a PvP arena. It's huge, open, and built for military-style maneuvering. And this creates long flanks, recon gameplay, realistic spacing between squads, and PvE that really matters. You don't push dorms in Gray Zone. You plan an approach, you check your elevation, you pray your squad doesn't get third-partied by a team that you never saw coming. Before we go on, don't forget, like, share, and comment. It really helps me out. Time investment and player mindset. Tarkov, it's a raid that's anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes, depending on which map. You get in, you get loot, you get the fuck out, or you get deleted. Or even worse, you get ratted by the extraction camper. Fuck those guys. It's a short-term squeeze in the adrenal gland, mixed with anxiety-inducing panic when Tagilla starts running at you. Yeah, it's a thing. In Gray Zone Warfare, a mission can take an hour just to reach the objective. It's long-form tactical deployment requiring the 7Ps and a whole lot of recon. In Tarkov, it's a sprint compared to Gray Zone's deployment mechanics. Gunplay and the tactical feel. In Tarkov, weapons feel heavy, lethal, and punishing. The recoil requires a skill check. Movement is a commitment, with severe consequences if you choose wrong. It's a hardcore shooter with RPG elements. In Gray Zone, it leans into simulation-style gunplay. Ballistics, distance, squad coordination matter, more than twitch reactions and peak mechanics in Tarkov. It's less about winning the fight and more about not being in the wrong place when the fight starts. And for a little bit deeper dive into the gun stuff, we'll go into the gun porn. Tarkov takes real firearms from all types of manufacturers. The modification system is not limited to a point-restrictive application such as Call of Duty or Battlefield. Rather, the downside in Tarkov is ergonomics and weight. The ergo restricts your ADS, your weapon switching, and your reload speeds. You are severely limited on weight. In Tarkov, your maximum is about 100 kilograms, or 220 pounds. This weight affects other parameters as well. The heavier you are, the more penalties, such as movement speed, a louder presence, or footsteps, scaling, jumping, so on and so forth, to where parallaxis, the Coriolis effect, pressure, bullet weight, and barrel length all play out in Tarkov. And what's missing here? Windage. And that's okay, because people would have to start using dope, data on previous engagements, and have their notes and notebooks for long-range shots. So no windage in this game is perfectly fine with me. And Tarkov will make you regret not bringing that MPX with rip rounds when you fight Tagila, or not using those 7.62 M993 rounds when Struman's out in the woods. Gray Zone? Well, it uses the same weapon platforms with a little bit smaller pool of weapons to choose from. Might be a licensing thing, not sure. It has very similar mechanics at play. There is a strict weight limit here, 54 kilograms, about 119 pounds. And that seems a little bit more realistic in my opinion than 220 pounds from Tarkov. I mean, I carried an 80-pound rucksack when I was in the Army, and that thing down here killed me. I can just imagine carrying 220 pounds for 7 to 10 miles. There's no way. And although both systems have severe penalties for maxing or going beyond the threshold of your weight, both systems are impacted by stamina consumption, movement speed, and volumetric sound, the footsteps and scaling. Gray Zone also includes a projectile type with various degrees. So does Tarkov, with benefits and penalties for each weapon type. Some of them have a little bit more burn to the weapon, or they will subtract or add to your accuracy, to include bullet penetration, so on and so forth. And these will add deviations to the MOA for different types of weapon systems. In Tarkov, weapons are just an excuse as to why you got head and eyes from kill on interchange after double peeking that cash register at Ollie. In Gray Zone, you'll have that little girl scream when you see that tracer round ricochet off the enemy's gear or the vehicles. It's just that level of realism we all deserve in FPS games. And the psychology of each game. Tarkov is about fear, greed, and survival instinct. It weaponizes uncertainty. It makes you question every decision, and some of them more than once. Gray Zone? Well, it's about discipline, planning, and tactical execution. It rewards squads that communicate and punishes lone wolves. Tarkov? It attacks your nerves. Gray Zone? It attacks your patience. So before you make a decision, if you have to make a decision between the two, I'll go ahead and give you the top 10 differences to help you decide which game you should get. If you're limited to only getting one of these. It's only the top 10 differences. And if I covered every one of the little intricacies between them, we'd be here for an hour. And I don't think anybody wants to sit on YouTube that long. So here we go. First one, solo-centric versus squad-centric gameplay. Tarkov strongly supports the lone wolf playstyle. Although it does have a team aspect, it prefers sniping and scavenging. Gray Zone is designed around coordinated squads where each member has a defined role, a marksman, a rifleman, or even a medic. Mission structure versus raid structure. Tarkov uses instanced raids with extraction points and risk-reward loops. Gray Zone uses open-world missions with objectives, AI allies and enemies with persistent tasks. Tasks are broken down similarly between the two, with main or story tasks and then side tasks for XP and vendor reputation gains. The learning curve difficulty. Tarkov is notorious for its learning curve. It's about a 90-degree angle, and punishing mechanics with AI in full tilt from your first raid. Gray Zone is more newcomer friendly and very forgiving for mistakes if you made them. The health and wound systems. Both have survival mechanics, but Gray Zone is more punishing with wounds requiring specific treatment and use of materials, i.e. for tourniquets, bandages, and meds for specific wound types. And both have survival needs, food and hydration. Tarkov is harsh, but less punishing in moment-to-moment wound management. Using a similar treatment system between them, I would say that Tarkov's is a little bit easier to use, but you will get pushed by scavs or an enemy if you are close enough and you're using a surgical kit. Faction system. Gray Zone features 3 factions with evolving storylines and mission arcs for each faction, and they have different spawn locations. Some have minor differences in certain tasks, but generally they're the same otherwise. Tarkov has only 2 factions, really, Bear and USEC, and they don't have any impact on the missions, save for one map, and that's Lighthouse. If you've played it and you're USEC, you can kind of go into the little rogue area as long as you don't get close enough to them. But if you're Bear and they see you, it's game over. They're going to attack. So the only real difference here is Tarkov has a scav that you can play pretty much for free, and if you die, there's really no loss because it's not your gear. PvP versus PvE emphasis. Tarkov is heavily PvP driven with high stakes encounters. Gray Zone leans towards more PvE, with AI-rich missions and more relaxed PvP intensity. You have to pay more for Tarkov PvE mode, where PvE and PvP are included in the base version of Gray Zone. They both offer high-priced versions with extra incentives for the money. In Tarkov, it's almost necessary to buy the $200 version, the Unheard Edition, so you get the extra storage and pocket space. In Gray Zone, it offers weapons, storage space, and cosmetics for the $108 price tag. Both go on sale frequently enough on Steam and their native websites too, so you might be able to get those high-end versions for less money. Map design. Tarkov uses separate instance maps with defined extraction points and alternate methods of extraction if push comes to shove. Gray Zone uses a large open world where missions and exploration happen seamlessly, with helo transport at specified LZs, and yes, you can travel from LZ to LZ without ever having to return to base. And keep in mind there are only so many birds that each faction can send up at one time. I think it's 4. Looting systems. Tarkov's loot containers are obvious and standardized, and it utilizes RNG in a severe manner. Like 40 plus raids and still no rusted bloody key. Yeah, that was me for a long time. As a matter of fact, I think the number was 58 before I finally found one. Gray Zone's loot is more subtle and harder to identify, requiring more environmental awareness. They hide certain aspects on sticky notes or in the environment. And for the cash mission that Gunny has, you know what I'm talking about. Punishment systems. Tarkov punishes failure with loss of gear and those precious M993 rounds we discussed earlier. Unless your gear is insured, you won't be getting it back. And in the case of missing the extraction while your gear is on, or dying in labs or labyrinth, it doesn't matter if it's insured or not, that shit's gone. So careful what you bring in and prepare wisely. Gray Zone punishes you with failed missions and loss of rep with the vendors. And if you die by AI, other players can loot your body, if you're not fast enough to get back to it. And again, it's not about gear in Gray Zone, but mission success. And the grind of rep with vendors is serious. Game maturity and content depth. Tarkov has 10 years of development behind them. They have deep weapon modding, complex systems, where Gray Zone is newer. It's still in early access and expanding the content and mechanics. The takeaway from this is that Gray Zone is in early access but looks polished and better than some fully developed AAA game releases. Tarkov, like I said, has had a decade in preparation before its release in late 25. They both have rich and immersive content in their own way. And they have a lot to offer in the milsim community. So here it is, my strongest suggestion for anyone not able to purchase both or invest enough time into both titles. So here are the following questions that you need to ask yourself. Money, always a factor, right? Tarkov is anywhere from $50 to $200, and $200 for the Unheard Edition. Gray Zone is $40 to $108, $108 for the Supporter Edition. So it all depends on if you have the money or not. And if you do, well, it really does come down to which one you want. 2. Milsim. Yeah, they both check the box on this, and probably 2 of the better games to do it too. I'm not discounting Squad, Arma, or Operator here. I'm just saying these 2 games offer really good play for the price point. Number 3, gun porn. Yes. End of statement. Yes. 4, the learning curve. And this is probably going to be a decision maker for a lot of people. Tarkov is a 90-degree angle, and Gray Zone is very forgiving and builds you from the first task. Number 5, time in and time out. Tarkov is a time-gated raid where Gray Zone is an open world where time is at your advantage. From nightfall to dusk to midday, if you prefer. So both games will punish you if you rage quit. However, I have had internet failure in a Tarkov raid and lost nothing. I just relaunched after the power was restored and everything was set back to before the raid even began. I've not experienced the failure with Gray Zone yet, and I hope I never do. I assume it will go back to the same as it was before, where you just die on spot and you can come back and get your body. But the difference here is that your body only stays there for 1 hour, and you must return to the same server, such as US East or US West, so on and so forth. So let's hope it never happens. This is coastal Georgia, and I'm pretty sure that's inevitable. And after you answer these questions for yourself, you're going to have a decision to make. Where do you spend those valuable resources?
Earth and water.
No, bro. Time and money. That's the valuable resources in this world. So good luck, and have fun with either one of these amazing titles. They're top tier, and I'm telling you, which one you pick, you're really going to enjoy it for a long time. So as far as a winner, there really isn't one. Because Tarkov is more of an extraction shooter as to where Gray Zone is more of a mission-minded task performance game. So you're not really extracting things, you're just completing tasks and missions. So as we close this out, did I leave anything out on the table? Or did I pretty much cover it? I'm telling you now, either one of these games you buy, you're going to love it. You're going to absolutely enjoy it and have a great time with it. So here's the truth. Tarkov and Gray Zone aren't competing. They're serving two tactical appetites here. So if you want high intensity, high punishment, high reward, well, Tarkov is your escape. If you want open world realism, squad tactics, and long form immersion, well, Gray Zone is your next deployment. Both games are brutal in their own way. Both games are brilliant, but they do scratch completely different itches. So drop your experiences below. Which one hits your tactical nerve harder? Have I included incursion in this versus battle here? Well, leave your experiences in the comments. Like, share, and hey, hit that sub button for more content from the Dead Noob. And as always, noobs, be good or be good at it. Dead Noob out.